With true crime inspiring many movies, which horror movies are based on true crime cases?
Lemon squares taste like ass.
Welcome to my channel, my name is Em, aka Horror, and in today's video I will be counting down 10 horror movies inspired by real crime. The Girl Next Door, 2007. The horrific depictions of abuse in The Girl Next Door is inspired by the real case of Sylvia Likens, who was brutally tortured and abused by her guardian Gertrude Banaszewski. Banaszewski also allowed her own and neighbouring children to join in on the mistreatment, which lasted for 3 months, resulting in Sylvia's murder. The movie follows a young girl called Meg who is subjected to horrendous treatment by her aunt and cousins when her parents die. Although the storyline changes some aspects of what happened in the real case and the names of those involved, the film shows the true horror which was inflicted both mentally and physically upon Sylvia, who the movie is also dedicated to. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, 1986. Based on the serial killers Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole, the movie follows Henry after he is released from prison after serving time for his mother's murder. He moves in with a friend and fellow convict Otis, and together they go on a murder spree and their friendship soon becomes toxic. Whilst the story was changed slightly and the relationships between the characters in the movies were edited for the plot, the two did admit to going on a killing spree with each other in real life, killing over 108 people. It is worth noting that Lucas went on to retract some of his confessions, and there is still question over whether or not he did commit the crimes he once boasted about. Both Henry and Otis died in prison while serving their life sentences. Wolf Creek, 2005. Wolf Creek is inspired by convicted killer Ivan Millett, who terrorised and murdered people in the Australian outback. The events which transpired between 1989 and 1993 inspired the character of the killer in the film, Mick. Following 3 backpackers who accept help from Mick when their car breaks down, the story eerily resembles the true events that took place. Despite being convicted of the murders, Millett claimed his innocence up until his death in 2019. The film also uses some traits for Mick from Bradley Murdoch, another Australian killer who used car trouble as a way to entice his victims. After murdering Peter Falconio and assaulting Falconio's girlfriend Joanne, he was charged with the murder and is serving a 28-year life sentence for the crime. Murdoch does, however, also claim his innocence, but despite appealing the conviction, remains in prison to this day. The Afflicted, 2011. The Afflicted is based on the real-life crimes of Teresa Knorr. The names of the characters were changed for the movie, however, the events taking place in the film reflect the real-life terror Teresa put her family through. From killing her husband to severely abusing and neglecting her children, Teresa's behaviour only became worse when she forced her children to join in on the sickening punishments of their brothers and sisters. She forced her daughter Sheila into prostitution and ended up killing her and her sister Susan. Even though the ending of the film is very different to the true outcome, the horrors depicted in the movie can't even make you imagine the terror her children would have felt. The real Teresa is currently serving 50 years to life in prison, and it is very unlikely that she will ever be released. The Haunting of Sharon Tate, 2019. In 1969, the world saw one of the most horrific cult murders take place in the residence of actress Sharon Tate. The movie is set days before the tragic events of what happened during the early hours of the 9th of August 1969 and follows Tate and her fabricated paranoia regarding the Manson family targeting her. The movie itself has had very poor reviews due to the fictitious portrayals of the characters, with some saying it has a complete disregard of the tragedy and exploits what actually happened in a disrespectful manner. The real murders have gone down as one of the most famous cases and made the world aware of the cult known as the Manson family. Snowtown, 2011. Snowtown tells the story of real-life murders which took place in Adelaide, South Australia between 1992 and 1999. The killings were carried out by three men, John Bunting, Robert Wagner and James Vlasakis. The trio targeted men who they believed to be child abusers, weak or homosexual. Torture played a big part in the murders and the victims were put into barrels and left in a bank vault. The movie does a good job with its portrayal of what happened, and the Snowtown murders have gone down as one of Australia's most notable murder cases. The Town That Dreaded Sundown, 1976. The Phantom Killer tormented the Texarkana area of the United States for 10 weeks from February to May of 1946. The killer attacked 8 people, killing 5 of them at 2 separate locations in the Texas and Arkansas areas. The movie bases itself on these attacks, using similar locations and portrayals of the victims, and bringing in the Phantom Killer himself. The attacks closely follow the series of onslaught that took place, and only minor changes were made to the events that occurred. The killer has never been identified, although there have been speculations as to who he was. With only minor descriptions of what the killer looked like being presented by the survivors of the attacks, it has been hard to pinpoint who the perpetrator could have been, which is not helped by the fact that he wore a white cloth mask. Despite suspects being questioned, there has never been enough evidence to convict anyone in relation to the crimes, leaving the identity unknown and possibly to never be revealed. Dahmer, 2002. There have been many portrayals of Jeffrey Dahmer throughout the years, including the 2002 feature Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer who targeted men for his own sick gratification. He was described as being a shy boy who was deprived of the nurture and affection children need. He struggled with his mental health and was diagnosed with numerous personality disorders, which some believe to be a result of his upbringing. His crimes were some of the most horrific America had seen, which included preservation of body parts and cannibalism of his victims. The movie follows some of the murders committed by Dahmer as closely as possible and shows the terror he inflicted upon his victims through numerous torture tactics and abuse. The movie is cleverly done, and although it may not dive into why Dahmer became the monster he was, it shows the brutality he was capable of. Dahmer died at the age of 34 at the hands of another inmate while serving 16 life sentences in prison. Gacy, 2003. Another movie based on a real-life serial killer is Gacy. The movie tells the story of John Wayne Gacy, who murdered at least 33 men between 1972 and 1978. He is most recognised as his character Pogo the Clown, who he would dress up as to perform at parties and events. Gacy would also dress up as another clown named Patches, who he would describe as being more serious than Pogo. His appearances as his clown characters would later have him branded as Killer Clown. His victims were all male, and upon Gacy's arrest, 26 of his victims' remains were found underneath the crawlspace of his property. His crimes were usually sexually motivated, and before his victims' deaths, he would subject them to horrendous torture before finally killing them, usually by asphyxiation. The film follows the story closely and shows the horrors of what his victims went through. Gacy died in 1994 by lethal injection. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, 2021. This entry of the Conjuring series follows the real-life story and court case of Arne Johnson, a man charged with the murder of his landlord Alan Bono. At the time of the murder, Johnson claimed that he did not remember the attack and that he was going through a demonic possession during this period. The events which led up to the apparent possession were witnessed by Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were helping the Glatzel family as their 12-year-old son had attracted a demonic presence who was taking over him, according to those present. Johnson was dating the boy's sister Debbie and witnessed the boy's exorcism that was performed by a priest and the Warrens. Johnson challenged the supposed demon to take him on instead, which apparently worked, leading to the murder. The court case was the first of its kind, claiming innocence due to demonic possession. Regardless of the evidence provided to support this, Johnson was found guilty and served 5 years of a 10-year sentence. Whether or not he truly was possessed, we may never know, but one thing is for certain, which is that the events that took place made history and one heck of a movie. So as always, what do you guys think? Do you know of any other horror movies based on true crime cases? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, as I will be uploading more content like this. You can check out my other content here. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.